Just toothpaste, pajamas, tennis shoes, socks. Remember that? And they brought produce and hot dogs. We brought together, I think it was 16 different gangs that day. 16 different, the roughest gangs in East LA. And we had boxing that day. And it was like a war about ready to start if anything happened wrong. You know, everybody's on pins and needles. And it was the first time Gil put the whole thing together. And I assisted him. He brought 16 of the roughest gangs together that had never been before in the history of the LA. To tell you how serious it was, I counted about 30 police cars around the neighborhood parked 50 yards away.
And the gang members were driving around. We were in the middle.
Right. We were at Overgone Park.
Like the Apaches attacking us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was scary. And these guys were born and raised in the neighborhood, but the neighborhood had changed somewhat. You know, it was really rough. And the police, they didn't come in. Nobody came in. And Gil said it was very. I called him that night. He said it was very successful, and it had some good bouts, good fights, and the guys shook hands for the first time in 50 years. And very successful. We did that a couple of times. It was a lot of work putting that thing on, man. I mean, Gil pulled all kinds of. He called everybody he knew. And they couldn't refuse Gil, and no one refused Gil. He didn't ask for much. Before, if he asked you for 10 pair of socks, you got them.
That there was a shootout deep in the east side between two gangs in East LA there. And my father was informed by the task force, and he was called to the scene. When he got there, he grabbed a white handkerchief out of one of the detectives' pockets and made a bandana he tied around his head, and he walked into the middle of the shootout. And when he did that, standing there in the middle of the street, both sides stopped shooting. And he yelled out to both gangs. He said, "You're brave enough to shoot at each other from these houses, but are you brave enough to sit at the same table together and eat?" And he had invited them to, and challenged them at the same time, to have lunch with him. Somehow he got the cops to back off, and he loaded these kids in some cabs and took them to a restaurant and sat them across from a table from each other and got them to eat and shake hands. But the violence still continues to limit our youth in the barrios. As of last Friday, November 8th, 2 of the Oyomara youths were stabbed. One died en route to the hospital. The other is in critical condition in General Hospital. We have talked to both parents and helped with contacting the church and the mortuary for services. It is very sad and ugly how we as a society play favoritism to one thing and continue to turn our backs to the real problems. A young man of 16 wasn't put on this earth to die of violence, no education, no skill for labor, and continues to live on welfare, even after seeing his parents live on the same thing. This is only a small portion of what is needed and talked about. Gil Cadilli.
Gil Cadilli, wow. A man that was incredibly brave, courageous, a true friend. He was your friend. He was your friend. And you can't say that about a whole lot of people.
He didn't have much material worth, but his heart. He never met a person that he didn't like. He'd have 50 cents in his pocket, and he'd drop it on a bum. He'd drop it on a bum. "Hey, Gil, what are you doing?" Gil would take 50 cents out and hand it to him. I know it's only 50 cents he had. He did that all the time. Everybody knew him. Wherever we went, we're at a gas station in Sacramento. Gil, really? We're in San Diego. Gil. Everywhere we went, people knew him and loved him. I've never seen a man that knew more people.
dad was real sick one afternoon. The phone hadn't rung for a couple of days. And the phone rang, and it was Muhammad Ali. He had called my dad from a banquet in Las Vegas where they were both being honored with the Joe Louis Humanitarian Award. I gave the phone to my dad, and they had a conversation. My dad told Ali that when boxing was in the basement, he raised his hands high above his head and gave all the fighters hope and made them proud for what they did and who they were.
Cadilli Sr. was a special guy. When he died, I told Keeney, his dear friend Keeney, what a super guy. He said he wasn't a super guy, he was a great guy. That's what Keeney said. He said he wasn't a super guy. He was a great guy.
Volando bajo, mi amor está por los suelos, y tú tan alto y tan alto, mirando mi desconsuelo, sabiendo que soy un hombre que está muy lejos del cielo, ando volando bajo. Más porque no me quieres, si estoy clavado contigo, teniendo tantos placeres, me gusta seguir sus pasos, habiendo tantas mujeres, tú y las nubes me traen muy loco, tú y las nubes me van a matar. Yo pa' arriba volteo muy poco, tú pa' abajo no sabes ni